Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, so Nancy and I travel full-time across the country on our Love Your Parks tour, and we also just started our new Big Blend Radio Roadtrip show. So right now, I know we have the giggles, so right now it's the 4th of July, and while everybody else is having, fireworks and all that, we're on the road, and we're on our way to Wisconsin. But we are doing our favorite highway, the Jefferson Highway, which doesn't go to Wisconsin, but it goes from New Orleans to Winnipeg, Canada. So we're going to do part of Iowa, Kansas. We just left Kansas City, and now we're in a rest area. And so rest areas are kind of our fun thing. That's why Nancy has the giggles. We love rest areas because we like to people watch. That's the truth. It's become a hobby. Funny. Like, we love to go to parks, as you all know. Can you hear fireworks in the background? I don't know if people can hear it. Maybe cars. I don't know. But there's a family with kids screaming. But anyway, the thing is, we like to do rest areas, and there's always something to see, whether it's somebody doing something weird, like one woman was giving her husband or a boyfriend a manicure in a rest area once. Yeah. Toenails. Manicure. Yeah, toenails. Yeah, like, I don't want to, it was kind of disgusting. Gross. But we've seen all kinds of things.
Yes, we have.
But today,
I've seen someone go in one sex and come out the
yes,
other.
We've seen all kinds of. Oh, now everyone's going to have a rile up on that. No, but it's a power to be what you want to be, right?
Yeah.
But right now we're at a rest area. We're seeing cattle, horses. A beautiful sunset is coming. We hear fireworks in the distance, so it's kind of like the America's theme song, right? But in front of us, the red, white, and blue happens to be a blue sign behind a bench, in front of the bench, in the middle of the bench. If you walked up to the bench, you wanted to sit down, it would split two people, right? One person on either side of a fire hydrant that is painted red. So I think we're being interestingly patriotic. The sign says faulty, non-working fire hydrant. So there it is. There's a red fire hydrant in the middle of a bench in a rest area. So did they plant it there so dogs could pee and their tinkle get on the bench?
It should
think
have
about
a sign that says 5 cents a pee.
That's what we think. So anyway, we find interesting things, but I don't know why a fire hydrant is in front. I mean,
seriously, it's a nice bench
directly in front of a bench.
Cement platform that it's
the
on.
Fire hydrant has a platform. The bench has a platform. The fire hydrant is direct. So if a dog pees on the fire hydrant, it is going on the bench.
Well,
it's going on the bench.
You could split the pee and two people would get wet at the same time.
That's right. That's right. And I can, now that you just said that, I feel a whiff of air just went by and I could smell dog pee. So there it is. Or maybe it's the cattle. Who knows?
Well,
but anyway,
cattle and
this
horses.
is what road trips are about, is finding the funny.
See, you would never know that
you would never know.
It
Who
should
knew?
be a national monument.
That's, oh, great. No, national monuments are for real things. That is just funny.
Well, there should be.
So, of course, we're here still staring at the fire hydrant. I can't even say it. I've got the giggles so much. And so we're going to bring Priscilla, our pink sock monkey, out. We're going to bring out Nessie, our little Loch Nessie from Scotland. And, of course,
she loves water.
She loves water. And we're going to let them visit the hydrant.
Oh, boy.
While we sit and chew on this giant bag of M&Ms our friends gave us. Thank you, Erwin and Pat. We will be sugar high all the way to Wisconsin.
But we're still wondering why the hydrant is where it is. Who came first, the bench or the hydrant?
I don't know. Hey everyone, okay, so we had quite an eventful night last night. There was fireworks. A big storm came through Kansas. We found out that we were in Missouri this morning. We didn't quite know where we were, but
No kidding.
we went to a rest area, and unfortunately, it was so sad. I went to get out and go to the restroom, whatever, in the restroom in the rest area, and Nancy sees this teeny little puppy. Oh, this little dog.
puppy.
It's not a puppy, but it really
Well,
acts like it.
Chihuahua mix.
It's like a little Chihuahua mix, and somebody had dumped this little pup. And so it was on the side of the road. There's a big ditch down there and everything. And we spent the entire morning, no joke, I think it's about 5 hours,
5 hours.
trying to get
Right.
to rescue this pup. And where we're heading to in Wisconsin, the lady we are pet sitting for is an animal rescuer. So she gets a bright and early morning text from me going, "Do you want another dog? It looks like one of yours." It's like a Taco Bella, a mini Taco Bella. It does look like her one dog. And of course she's like, "I'm on it. Let's see what we can do. We'll get this little baby a home. You need to get it." But rest areas, cars are driving by it. I did get down on the ground, and I was so close, and I built trust up. I mean, 5 hours of trust with a pup, and just so many cars
close.
and so many people gathering around. The dog just.
I know, nosy people.
No, yeah, but a lot of people. This was also the thing. The rest area people are giving the dog water, feeding, trying to get rescue people to come help. Really a nice crew of people, and even
Absolutely.
people that were driving through. We had people come share their dog treats, try to help. It was a nice sense of humanity this morning of seeing everybody trying to help, because it's a tiny dog, and she kept going in the middle of the street, so I'm trying to slow people down, and when they did, they were kind about it. So I kind of felt like this morning's start of the road trip, as much as it completely pissed me off that someone would dump a dog, the other flip side was to see the good side of humanity too.
Right, but
I'm still pissed.
And maybe somebody dumped a dog, or maybe she's just kind of
Well,
wandered away from a farm
The
or something.
fireworks, but she did have mange and ticks.
Well, this is the thing with fireworks scare the heck out of animals.
They say that I think a third of animals that run away, it is during fireworks season. But But anyway, it was a good night. We had M&Ms. Thank you, Erwin and Pat again. And right now we are in Wallace State Park in Missouri. We're right off of the Jefferson Highway. So we're
beautiful.
doing parks on the Jefferson Highway. We're supposed to be getting hip camp things, and we haven't even done that. We've just been playing puppy, and now surrounded a beautiful lake, all kinds of birds. We saw our first grosbeak weaver. They call them like a thistle weaver too. Beautiful bird. So we'll try and get that up, a photo for the podcast. But it's gorgeous. The day is turning out nicely after that big storm, and we see on the map that there's a Pony Express lake not far from here. So, we've covered the Pony Express. We cover the Jefferson Highway. So I think we're going to have to do another lake stop. And I don't know where we're sleeping tonight, but we'll figure it out. That's what a road trip is. Right now we're being as spontaneous as we can be while still following the Jefferson Highway, not the Jefferson Trail, the Jefferson Highway. So this is fun. This is the ultimate road trip.
Well, look at this beautiful lake.
And we have potato chips. We have M&Ms. We have sandwiches. And we're out in nature. And this is amazing.
And look at this dragonfly, sky blue wings, brown wings with sky blue tipping all around the wings.
Are you sure they don't have alligators? Look at that. I would think
I kept looking down there.
that looks like an alligator. No, then that would be a crocodile.
Yeah.
But that's they're little. I wonder if that's a snake in the water.
Well,
Ooh, how cool.
There are 4 kinds of rattlesnakes here and 2 kinds of cottonmouth.
That sounds good.
So, and they say
Fun.
they really encourage you not to go in this water because of the cottonmouth, and also because they say it's very slippery, and then every once in a while, like you could be in 2 feet of water and suddenly
you go down.
take a step and you're in 10 feet of water.
Wow, that's
So it's
interesting.
got holes in it.
Well, I think whoever dumped the dog should go hang out with cottonmouths. That's what I have to say. I'm still pissed. Sorry.
I don't know if somebody dumped it or it ran away because it got scared of firecrackers.
Poor little baby.
Poor
This
thing
little dog. I'm
outside.
going to put it up there for people to see.
But-
Because, oh,
And that was rest area location 8.
in Missouri
In
somewhere.
Missouri. So if you
It was near Holt.
Yeah, so if you live
I
anywhere
think.
near that and that's your dog, please go get her. She's
No, if you
lonely
dumped her,
and scared.
don't.
If you dumped her, screw you.
Yeah, there it is. How's that for a happy road trip radio show? All right, so next time we'll let you know about Pony Express Lake if we go there. All right, so we are still on the road, y'all. Y'all?
What's new?
I think y'all is a good thing. After Wallace State Park in Missouri, we did a little bit more out there. Did a little trail that had a little boardwalk overlooking the lake, and found all these cool wildflowers and played with my Seek app, the iNaturalist.
Mm-hmm.
I love iNaturalist because it tells you it's Seek on your phone, the app. So it tells you plants and bugs and birds and stuff.
And there's so many
Yep.
now.
And we saw grosbeak
Yes.
thistle.
That's
weaver.
that. Oh,
Grosbeak weaver. Yeah, we were talking about that.
grosbeak weaver. That's the first time we've seen that bird.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's the first.
well, speaking of birds, you saw a big heron today.
He was beautiful.
Nancy spied this heron.
Oh man.
He was actually in the
was
road.
huge.
He was in the middle of the road. We went to
Mm-hmm.
Pony Express Lake Conservation Area in Missouri. Pony Express Lake.
Yeah.
I mean, and so this really was, because it's outside St. Joseph, so very much Pony Express country, and that's where, St. Joseph. St. Joseph is fascinating history-wise. That's where everything happened. Pony Express, everybody, the Mormon Trail. We're actually sitting on the Mormon Trail right now as we record this. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna have to read that. That's some interesting stuff. This is, yeah. We'll get to this
There's
where we are now.
a lot of history.
So much history, right? But the Pony Express Conservation, we were driving one of the dirt roads, and Nancy's like, "What the heck is that?" Turned out to be that giant heron.
He was huge.
Mm-hmm. And then he flew over to where we went.
Saw him twice.
Yeah, we're in the car in a rest area again, so you're going to hear cars. There's a lot of birds. But anyway, we went to Buffalo Bill Lake Conservation Area, and that's where this bird, it's right within.
He was doing
the Pony Express
something
Lake.
with his wings, like he had just finished taking a bath or
He
because he was doing something awkward.
He was, he's
his
preening.
wing.
He was
Yeah.
massive. That's one of the biggest herons I've ever seen.
That's the biggest heron.
He was huge.
Yeah.
I didn't get a good photo because he was far when, we
Yeah.
got to the lake area, but Pony Express Lake and Buffalo Bill Lake. It's a big place for
Does
fishing.
Buffalo Bill know he has his own lake?
I don't know. But, he's notorious. So a lot of history. But on the way to the lake, we stopped in Cameron, Missouri, because, again, this is all following the Jefferson Highway, the historic Jefferson Highway going from Winnipeg to New Orleans. So, we're doing it the other way. We're going up towards that. So, sorry, I'm on my phone recording this, so I'm trying to get to my photo gallery on my phone. I'm getting there. It's coming. I wanted to tell you, this Cameron is really cool. There's this historic train depot.
Yeah.
And that
Very cool.
it's got the steam engine, and that was a big deal for the town. And I've got a nice mural shot of the downtown with this really old historic buildings, very charming. The depot is actually a museum, the Cameron Museum, but it was closed.
The mural was beautiful.
But mural is beautiful. But what's so cool about this, so outside the museum, they do have these trains. They did have 2 trains out there. And they did, by the way, downtown Cameron has a red, white, and blue patriotic fire hydrant, just going from last night's shenanigans with fire hydrants. This seems to be the fire hydrant
Capital.
No, I mean, now we're in Iowa. So, that was Missouri. Yeah, so maybe Missouri does fire hydrants. We were in Kansas last night. Yeah, we don't know where we are anywhere. No, we were in where were we? We don't know.
Don't ask me.
We can't remember what we recorded yesterday either. But anyway, okay, so this is some interesting history about Cameron and the steam engine and the train at this train depot. So, John Wilkes Booth, we all know him. He's the dude who killed Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
So this is the plaque that is up there. It says 1838 to 1865. American stage actor, assassin of President Abraham Lincoln. In the frigid winter of 1863, a small group of traveling entertainers who had performed at Fort Leavenworth were attempting to return to the East Coast. After spending a few blustery snowbound days in St. Joseph, they hired wagons to bring them east to catch a train in Breckenridge. On the way, they stopped at the Cameron Depot, which is where we were today, to rest overnight. Their leader was John Wilkes Booth. A few years earlier, in August 1859, a little-known Illinois attorney named Abraham Lincoln stopped at this same location. Now we look back at the historical significance of these two men and realize their paths crossed in Cameron.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. Then I went to go photograph the mural, and they do have these. I don't know much about trains, but these are some historic trains. So if you're into train history, which really America didn't. It's not America without railroads, right?
Yeah, that made a huge change to how we settled this and lived in this country.
Now, Nancy, this is going to be your favorite thing. Nancy loves the whole Jesse James and all the outlaws.
Dude.
There's so much outlaw history on the Jefferson Highway. We've covered a lot of it, women and men, by the way. But in Cameron, they have this tiny little pocket park, pretty flowers. I mean, again, the downtown is it's beautiful. And they have a plaque for Jesse James. And he looks like quite the gentleman. Look at his photo. That's what he does. Bell. So, Jesse James, this is the plaque. 1847 to 1882, outlaw. Yeah. In the years following the Civil War, Jesse James visited crime and mayhem on this territory. Banks and trains were favorite targets. Yeah. The outlaw was a frequent visitor to Cameron, but never committed a crime here. He had reason to be peaceable. Cameron's Dr. Lebrunt once treated Jesse's wounds and received a $20 gold piece as payment. Jesse also had a fondness for the local saloons, 3 of which stood on this block. This is where we were today. His final trip to Cameron was by rail. Accompanied by his mother, uncle, and a lawman, Jesse's body was loaded onto a special train at Cameron Lincoln Depot, taking him to his burial.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, like this history in that little town?
Well, and even,
right?
Already he started, first there was the Jesse James gang, and then there was James Younger gang, and his ego would not allow him to have a gang without his name being in the forefront.
Wow, that's amazing.
But this is how he kept getting caught.
Wow.
He couldn't sneak attack.
No. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
And now we're in Iowa, outside Lamoni. Lamoni is on the highway. It's a prominent place on the highway. In a Mormon community, as Roger Bell, the president of the Jefferson Highway Association, has told us about. So here's a plaque at the rest area. We're a little bit north of Lamoni now and heading towards Clear Lake, which is a big deal on the Jefferson Highway. That's where they just had their conference. But anyway, here it is. The Mormon Trail. The Mormons of Nauvoo, Illinois. I can't pronounce anything, sorry. Nauvoo, Illinois, forced from their homes following the murder of their prophet Joseph Smith Jr., began their trek across Iowa in 1846 on the way to the Great Salt Lake Valley. From their first permanent campsite on Sugar Creek, they traveled across southern Iowa to winter quarters near present-day Omaha. In addition to Sugar Creek, the Mormons also established permanent camps at Garden Grove in Decatur County, Mount Pisgah in Union County. By the way, there was a Pisgah National Forest outside by Asheville, North Carolina, and Canesville in Pottawatomie County. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these names. While camped by Locust Creek, that's a good name, near Corydon, William Clayton learned of the birth of his son in Nauvoo. On April 15, 1846, to commemorate this joyous event, he wrote the famous hymn, Come, Come, Ye Saints. The hymn became a great rallying song of the Mormons. In 1846, 7 Mormon families became separated from the larger body of migrants. They stopped for their winter in present-day Green Bay Township, Clark County, and established what was known as Lost Camp. These families remained in the area until 1854 when they resumed the trek to Utah. That's pretty crazy. These treks are incredible.
If you think about it, when people were settling and trying to choose where to live, and there's certain things you need to have, water supply, you need some kind of shelter, you need to be able to build your shelter, so you're going to need trees. There are things you need. And when you're traveling and you don't know the country, you don't know what's going to happen.
Man, I mean, back in the day,
think about it. Those people were
the Mormon, and then there's the Mormon battalion too that really kicked some butt. I mean,
and that was
that was harsh. Well, so here's something also interesting about where we're sitting. So this is all about utopian experiments in southern Iowa. That's where we are. We're in southern Iowa. So Nancy and I have been on the tour, on our Love Your Parks tour, to 2 communities that had utopian, dreams. And we're fascinated by this, What was going on that people wanted this utopia, right? So one was Greeley, Colorado, named after Horace Greeley, the editor of the newspaper. Nathan, I think, was somebody else's name was in there. I got to get to the actual guy who founded the town, named it after Horace Greeley, who he worked for. Greeley is a utopian society. It started off that way. And one of their 10 laws of the town of creating this utopian society, when people sent money in, $250, I think, or something like that, to be part of this community, was no drinking. Greeley, Colorado turned out to be the very first Go Cup community in Colorado, which means you're allowed to drink beer and walk from bar to bar holding a cup of beer and go from one brewery to one bar downtown. So I think that's funny. The other one was the New Llano colony. She called it a colony, I think, in Louisiana. Outside, it's part of, it's near Natchitoches area. It's near DeRidder, Louisiana. So it's all part of what's known as the no man's land. And that is fascinating because women had more rights within this colony than what they did within the country as a whole, federally, right? That colony had women's rights, like up at the top. Also was run by a guy who also tried to run for president. It was kind of crazy. And then they made their own wine. So they were not about abstinence. They had wine. Sorry, truck going by. We like our truck drivers. Thank you for all you do. You guys are like our little flags on the road. Okay, so this area apparently is also one of those utopian communities. It says several utopian groups attempted to implement in southern Iowa their dreams of a better social structure. This is fascinating to me. What was going on? So in 1839, Abner Kneeland, his name is Kneeland, like a knee, Knee. Kneeland, a pantheist, started, now I'm not going to pronounce it, a pantheist, yes, started Salubria in Van Buren County, Bassett, with economic problems. The experiment dissolved after Kneeland died in 1844. In 1843, followers of French socialist Charles Fourier founded Phalanx in Mahaska County. But this communal experiment lasted only 2 years. Sorry about butchering all the names. Followers of another Frenchman, Etienne Cabet, tried several experiments in the United States, including Icaria in Adams County, which existed from 1860 to 1895. Led by Ladislas Uhazi, I can't pronounce any of this, a group of Hungarian refugees from the revolutions of 1848 settled in Decatur County in 1850 and founded the town of New Buda. Buda. That's interesting.
This is why we're all such a big mix.
Yeah, after experiencing economic difficulties, once again, most of these people moved to Texas in 1853. So, hey, I don't know what, In 1851, people from near Farmington formed a communal association called the Hopewell Colony. They moved to Clark County later that year and founded the town of Hopeville. Although the communal nature of the colony soon changed, the village survived and for several decades was a thriving community. It is the only one of these Southern Iowa utopian experiments whose remnants lasted into the 20th century. I think that's fascinating, but
Well,
it's
think
all
about it.
It's all around the same time frame of these utopian, like
I just think it's you go to a brand new country, right? And it's not like, okay, we've lived in different countries all over. Okay, we've lived in Mexico, Kenya, South Africa, England. So we understand going to a different country, but the countries we went to, all of them had already been settled. But imagine going to a country where nobody really knows anything about it and it isn't settled. And then there's drama with the Native Americans and all sorts of things happen. And then there's religious leaders who tell you...
Well, everybody came here for freedom of religion.
Because...
Except for the Native Americans who were
Yes.
here. Or if you were a slave
Right.
on a boat, like that, you didn't choose that.
So it was a mixed bag. And then you're on your own to help settle something that really wasn't quite settled by European standards. Okay? So now it's, I mean, that must have been huge.
You think about when we got, independence in, 1776. So we're talking about the 1820s and 30s. It's not that long. So it's like a generational thing here. It's like, okay, this happened in my family's generation, like, my grandparents, my father, my mother. Now we're going to try this. And then you got to think, the Civil War wasn't that far away from this either, timing-wise. So...
we have an interesting history for our country.
It's really, really interesting, these utopian societies. So I'm just fascinated about it. But I did not expect that today in Iowa. And this is, as we said at the beginning of recording all of this, this is a spontaneous, complete, like, let's just do as best we can on the road, not putting any time limits. Like, we're supposed to be hip camping somewhere, and we didn't even book it yet. So, like, we're just doing what we want, and it's fun to be spontaneous, but I do think planning is a good idea, because then you can really dig into the place you're in. But as we travel, a lot of times we're scouting it out for when we want to come back and really sink our teeth in.
Right.
So we encourage you to do that.
Actually.
But just if you're driving from A to B, even if you just pull over for those few minutes to a place, do the pullover. You'll learn something. You'll experience something. I mean, we've already had so many experiences, and so we've had a ton on this, and we haven't even told you half of them, not yet. But yeah, and we like to people watch. Just saying, we've had a lot of that today, and it's been fun. But just even all the plants, the wildflowers. Can we give a shout out to the wildflowers? Oh my God.
It's a good season for wildflowers.
Yeah,
and
thistles, bees are everywhere, butterflies. You saw the damsel?
Oh my God.
Your dragonfly, damselfly. Dragonfly. Yeah, we've seen so much wildlife. We've seen...
Well, traveling from one side of the country to the other, where you see, okay, there's dragonflies almost everywhere, but this is the first time that I've seen a dragonfly that has chocolate brown wings with light blue dots around the edges. And I mean, seriously, it's a beautiful, beautiful insect, but I've never seen it in, say, Arizona, California, or the west side of the country.
It's different.
Yeah, it's totally different. So as you travel, it's a dragonfly, but it's a different species, like the bird that we saw, the grosbeak. It's like, oh, I'm looking at the beak. I'm like, that's a grosbeak, but I've never seen one that color. So it is an amazing, amazing thing to get out in nature and see all the different species, then go to a museum, library, and read about the history of the area you're in and soak it up.
Oh, there's lots of books locally, too, that you can get from local historians.
And soak it up. And then you start to really understand where you live.
Well, as we always say,
appreciate it.
The Jefferson Highway, every time we do the podcast, which that is every fourth Thursday. We're doing this without any notes or anything. Every fourth Thursday we do the Jefferson Highway show, and everything is a rabbit hole. And then when you get out there, like now I want to dig into the Utopian Society. Now I'm just thinking we need to actually go there tomorrow. Now we're going to derail, it's like, oh, sorry, we're going here, we're doing that. But I think we better go get to our campsite wherever it's going to be today. So we're going to sign off, and we'll be back at it tomorrow.
Awesome.
How do I turn it off?
I don't know.
So good morning, everybody. We're on the Jefferson Highway.
Actually, we're in a field of flowers.
We are in a field of flowers in Iowa. We drove up through Osceola early this morning. I wish we could have gotten photos. The lighting was just, that early morning light. So we have to go back to Osceola. A lot of historic buildings, beautiful town square.
That's a cute little town.
Yeah, so we really want to go back. And I know that it's a high point for the Jefferson Highway. And they have signs for the highway. And so we're on our way towards Indianola. I don't know. But I always butcher names. But so we're on the Jefferson Highway. There's a lot of signs up. We're trying to go. There's this restored American gas company, old gas station. So we're going to go there and photograph that and then go to Clear Lake area. Well, that's on the plans, right? So this is why Nancy and I do not drive an RV, because there was a sign saying grassland wildlife area. Then we're in one of them now. And as soon as we see anything like brown signs, anything with binoculars, we tend to just pull over. And this took us on a little bit of a dirt road through farmlands. Actually, quite a dirt road. And I think if we were there you'd need 4-wheel drive, basically.
Yeah, to finish that trail.
Yeah, there were parts of this trip that Nancy and I got real quiet.
Really?
Yeah, but this took us out on dirt road out in this conservation area. I think hunting goes on out there, but so many birds.
Yeah, and look at I'm just amazed at the flowers, the mix of colors. And then we can't leave out all the little rabbits.
All the bunnies.
Tons and tons of little jackrabbits.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that they're jackrabbits.
But we think we saw a pheasant.
He did see pheasant. That was definitely a pheasant.
First, we thought it was a roadrunner. We come from the Southwest, and we know the roadrunners do not belong out here.
Big, man.
But it was big. We're like, what the heck is that, man? But the flowers, daylilies. There's all kinds of I think these are cornflowers. I don't know. I should do my CCAP and find out.
Yeah.
I'll do that once we've done the recording. But there's forbs are all out. Apparently,
Beautiful.
It's just this is pollinator country. For butterflies, there's all kinds of birds, bugs. All the finches, the goldfinches this morning, bluebirds.
Yeah. Amazing.
So, taking these little detours, that's what this trip is about. It's our vacation, but we're still documenting, right?
Off the beaten track.
But yeah, we want to have that ability, that spontaneous time to just take those roads that you shouldn't go on. And hopefully we won't get stuck getting out of where we are now.
But you never know.
But you never know.
Boy.
All right, so we were on our way to Indianola. Did I say that right this time, do you think, Nancy?
Yeah, sounds okay to me.
Kinda, sorta.
Indianola,
and had to pull over there. They have Jefferson Highway signs. We love seeing the signs, and the downtown is historic. True charm.
It's very cute.
Yeah, it's got so many. It's got murals. It's like a true downtown with a courthouse in the center, and all kinds of public art all throughout. But they're really historic buildings with plaques with telling the history of each building, and we want to go back and spend time there. We're just scraping the surface right now. We're just kind of getting our bearings of the highway, the Jefferson Highway, to kind of get a feel for everywhere, and all we want to do is keep coming back to everywhere we go. But anyway, we're on our way to that old gas station thing that we're going to photograph. I say thing because I've got to go there. No, it's old historic gas pumps. It's cool. And of course, then we saw a brown sign, and the brown sign has led us to Banner Lakes at Somerset State Park. And it's north of Indianola. It's kind of between Des Moines. We're near, I think, Carlisle, Iowa is where we are right now. And so we pulled in here, and it looks like Iowa state parks are free admission, which is nice for families. It just kind of gave me an idea that we should do like a list of free things families can do.
Oh, that'd be super.
On our sites, But anyway, this is stunning. The lakes are beautiful, and so when we drive in, we see all these trailheads, and the trails go through forests and then around the lakes. And we saw a sign, the coal miner's daughter. So Nancy thought Loretta Lynn,
No.
would come out and say hi. Rest in peace, Loretta. But it turns out that this park the lakes are actually on top of an old coal mine. And I didn't even know they did coal mining in Iowa, but I know they did lime mining. So
I think we mine wherever we can.
all this pollen is really getting to my sinuses, I will tell you that. There's so many flowers. I think this whole trip through this area of just like, so much pollen. But the lakes are gorgeous. There are huge fish. And from reading the park website, there's channel catfish, there's bass, big mouth bass or largemouth bass, big mouths, crappie.
Sounds better.
We don't know anything about fish, but we're watching them.
One fish is really
It's
beautiful.
huge, and it's got blue. It's like a blue, white and blue, and speckles on his belly. He's long and skin. There he is.
Yeah, and the top is reddish.
Oh, it's
Brown.
beautiful. But we did see
Belly
catfish,
is
and there's
blue.
little fish with blue tails. It's just beautiful, and people are kayaking, fishing. This is definitely a
And there's
fisher.
flowers along the lake.
We had a little brunch here, a little picnic brunch out on a fishing pier, and that's where we are now. And there's so many birds. There's butterflies, there's wildflowers, people hiking obviously on these trails and cycling, and
Kayaking.
it's just a mellow place to come hang out, and it's just outside a city. So you never know what you're going to find, and eventually we'll get to those gas pumps.
It's beautiful.
All right, so Somerset State Park was our last destination, and then we hung out there a little bit more. And by the way, the blue flowers that we were talking, the purpley blue flowers that Nancy was talking about, turned out to be chicory. And I also saw a lot of wild carrot flowers. Queen
Wild
Anne's lace.
carrot?
There's a lot of wild carrots out here. I'm just
I'm
saying,
not
you might
saying
be
anything.
one. Who knows? But we did get to the gas station, the old historic gas station with those
that's
two historic
interesting.
pumps.
Yeah.
So it's just down the road on historic Jefferson Highway, and we actually got to meet the owner. Of course, I didn't expect it to be located where it was, but it is really on the highway, and his house is there, and he came out to greet me, and I had a chat with him, and he talked about, yes, I own this and putting money into it, and it's really fascinating. So here's the Jefferson Highway sign that is there, which is really cool because, again, this Jefferson Highway started in 1915 by the editor of the Homes and Gardens magazine. And when you think about it being 1915 and now this revival is coming up, when you have a Jefferson Highway sign, and this is a all volunteer organization, it's pretty crazy that,
Well, it's cool.
when you start driving the highway and you see the signs, you're like, I'm on it. I did it. I figured it out, And so when you see these markers, like, actually, that's special. So anyway, here's the sign, what it says. The Hasty Station, a Jefferson Highway historic site. This brick structure was erected in 1933 by brothers Ross and Louis Hasty, or it could be Louis Hasty, as a Standard Oil service station. Now, I remember Standard Oil being a regular oil company, petrol station or gas station in South Africa, and I believe in England too. But I remember in South Africa. Here too? Well, obviously, right? Its location on US 65/US 69, known as the Jefferson Highway, served motorists until 1943 when it closed its doors. The station featured 2 gas pumps and a grease pit. In 2011, the Warren County Historic Preservation Commission started seeking funds for a stabilization project to preserve the structure. The building was finished in 2016. What's really cool, he showed me a sign for the Ross brothers. They had a real estate company, it seems like. We're going to get Scott Gearing on the show. He's the owner on a future show. He had to go. He was like, I'm glad I met you, but I got to go. He's relocating a bat out of someone's house. So anyway.
Out of someone's belfry.
Yeah. Belfry, yeah.
Belfry.
I say belfry. You say belfry. You want a tomato? I'll take a potato.
I'll take the potato.
I know. Anyway, he's a really nice guy, very dedicated to it. And he has this stone structure that turns out it was the air pump back in the day. Mm-hmm. But then the sign that I was telling you about, this sign he found behind the gas pump, the gas station itself. And it was a porcelain sign. Porcelain.
That's
I didn't
crazy.
even know that there were porcelain signs.
I didn't know that either. That doesn't seem rational.
And he said, no, it's been there since the 30s.
Wow.
And it's pristine white, red, white, and blue with the lettering, or red. Mm-hmm. I know there's red on it. I might be wrong about the blue. It might be black. It's pristine. Look, there's a dippy-doo. Look at that. Do you see the little dippy-doo? Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but there's a ground squirrel. Look at that tiny little dippy-doo. It's a chipmunk?
Yeah.
Look at it.
Got stripes.
Oh. We're at Little Wall Lake right now, by the way. We're sitting on a lake, so you may hear some breeze, lake breeze. But anyway, that sign is pristine, clean, and he goes, look at it. I mean,
mm-hmm.
And
That's
so
amazing.
the porcelain signs, we've got our friends Maggie and Jeroen that go across the country and document neon signs. But like this is porcelain signs, like a whole new thing to think about. But then also, so there's the structure where is the air pump that's all within this. And I'll put everyone, this will go up on our site with photos and everything so you can see what we're talking about. But he's going to make it was where the air pump was, because so many people do pull over there off of the highway because of tire getting flats, all kinds of issues. Well, listen, America's roads are a little bumpy right now. A lot of potholes, just saying.
You think?
And under construction, which is a good thing, but not easy for travel, just saying. So we need the construction, so we're just all going to have to get on with it. But anyway, he said so many people pull over. He says, you wouldn't believe the amount of people I've helped with this, So, he looks like a gas station, and he is, but he's a closed historic gas station from, the 30s and 40s.
Funny.
So it's an interesting thing, but he's going to try and get that fixed, and he needs, some funding, obviously, as, it's historic and everything. But then the gas station has a basement. I was like, they have a basement? I said, well, is that for tornadoes or whatever? We're in the Midwest. Like, I don't know. He goes, no. They have it's a basement, but the basement has a furnace. I'm like, what are you doing with a furnace down there? He goes, the furnace is like an igloo, how this whole place heats up. So in the winter, with all the snow, that would fuel the top. So anyway, we'll get him on a show to talk about it. And I just think this is so cool. All these places we did talk to our friends Roger Bell, who's the president of the Jefferson Highway Association, and Arlene Gould, who's a director, and she's a executive director of the Natchitoches Visitor Bureau out in Natchitoches, Louisiana, who's on the trail. She introduced us to this whole. She's the one who sent us down the rabbit hole.
Yep, it's all her fault.
It is, and that's why we say y'all. But they were just up here doing the Jefferson Highway conference, so we're late, but having a beautiful time. So Roger and Arlene have been sending us photos of where to go, and we're going to try and accomplish some little projects here, more destinations.
It's really an iconic highway and it's extremely interesting, especially from the history point of view. American history is so in your face if you take the time to really read and look at where you're going and what you're seeing. And it reminds me of like really old TV shows and takes you back. Well, and I think it's important, because when you lose your history, then you don't know who you are.
Well, right now, like even what is amazing, I was sending Roger some of the photos saying, hey, we went here, we went to like Pony Express Lake, we went to Somerset State Park where we just were. Well, I didn't know Pony Express Lake was also a quarry with water, and so I knew Kansas did mining, right? We had the Miners Hall Museum on the show, the podcast, and I did not know so much mining went on even in Iowa. I always thought like Appalachia and in the Southwest and Colorado, all of that, right? All of, we're so used to the Southwest history, Nancy and I, having lived out there, and so it's really interesting to learn. Iowa had all these mines and quarries, and so
we mined our way over.
So all of these quarries, not all of them, but we're going to have to get a historian. But these quarries are now lakes, some of them, and they're beautiful. We're in Little Wall Lake. We're in Hamilton County, and it's pretty cool because you can circle the lake, drive around the lake, and there's picnic sites all around, and then you get to, it's a county lake, but they have a campground here. So that's what the Jefferson Highway tourists did when they drove, from New Orleans to Winnipeg or Winnipeg to New Orleans. They car camped, kind of like we're doing. And so this is, I would say this would be an ideal place.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's clean.
It's got a water source.
All the state parks we've been in, yeah. The other one didn't seem to have camping. Somerset didn't. But in Iowa. But this is nice. So anyway, we're thinking Iowa Falls is our next destination. We'll find out unless we take yet another detour because we didn't know we were coming here. So I don't know if we're ever going to make it to Wisconsin, but we better.
We are.
Anyway, Iowa Falls is hopefully our next destination. Hey everyone, we are back. We are in Faribault, Minnesota. We are at the River Bend Nature Center. We're in a picnic area, so it's next to all the trailheads. So there's a little bit of very little car traffic, and people traffic. And there's one dude running around talking really loud on his cell phone. So if we can get some good gossip for you, we will, because you never know. Who knows what who he's talking to? But oh wow! So since we last recorded, we went to Iowa Falls on the swinging bridge.
That was fun.
I only went part way. I got almost halfway, and then I was like, my little vertigo brain said, no, that's enough, But you like those kind of things, though.
I think it's challenging, but it's fun.
Oh, it was cool, but there's a waterfall.
And I do have a trust in mankind having built it properly. But then there are instances where trust runs out.
Yeah, well, we were on a bridge, a swinging bridge, suspension bridge in South Africa.
Oh, that was
was out in the Sitikama Forest area.
That was cool.
And you and I were on that hike, and it was the day where the puff adder went for my ankle.
Yeah.
And I ran like screaming like a banshee. Like everything you're not supposed to do if a snake comes up. Went for my ankle, didn't get it, but that was it, I'm out. Snake turned around, went after Nancy. And had a mate.
Actually, yeah, and I didn't know that. And the mate came up behind me. I was like,
holy cow.
No,
you got to run. Yeah.
But there were holes in your jeans where he struck.
Yeah, so but I did not get it. It was close. And I've got really bad ankles. So my ankles were hurting. And I'm like, uh-oh. And it turned out just my typical ankles.
But they do strike.
But then Nancy's like, no, look at that bridge. It goes over the water. And we'll get to that little island. And let's go. Right? Cool. Okay. So we do, and I step on one of the things, and I'm not good at bridges, and boom, one of the planks went down, and so I was like, that's it. Snakes, bridges, snakes and ladders, really.
Yeah.
It was a day of that, but this bridge is not like that. Iowa Falls is amazing. It's so charming. The downtown, the theater, we need to do a podcast just on the architecture.
It's a beautiful city. It really is.
Very charming. And there are waterfalls.
It's clean.
Clean. That is actually something I've noticed about the entire state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Is the cleanliness, the downtowns being very we're keeping
immaculate.
Our history. Missouri too was like that. And now we're in Minnesota and I feel the same way. we went to a rest area yesterday outside Mason City. We wanted to go to Mason City, but our timing just there's only so much.
There.
You just can't do all you want to do. And when we go to Mason City, we need to just kind of park our butts there for a few days because there's Clear Lake. We've got to go to the site where the Big Bopper and Richie Valens and Buddy Holly went down in the plane. So that's where they played that night in that ballroom, the surf ballroom, and then went in the plane and came down. And so a lot of history, and also Meredith Wilson, the music man.
You wrote the Music Man.
I thought it was a music maker. Okay,
no,
music man.
It's the music.
Yeah,
man.
music
the
man.
Musical, the Music Man.
I have no notes. This is totally unscripted. We're just in a picnic space going la la la.
Well,
La la la. So anyway, we want to go back to Mason City, and that was, again, the conference site for the Jefferson Highway this year, 2023. Alexandria, Louisiana will be the next one, which is exciting. We love that area. But anyway, from there we stopped. It's outside Albert Lee, which is another charming historic town with amazing architecture, and that's in Minnesota. And they have this Minnesota Trail. The rest area has all the pollinator gardens, and the Midwest does this so well.
I love that.
I think the Midwest really understands the need for butterfly gardens. And so the highway, Jefferson Highway, goes on like 65 or 69 most of the time, but changes. But Highway 35 is like the interstate version of it. It's like I-40 and Route 66, right? And I-35 is known as the Monarch Highway. So I want to look that up because I wonder if they're doing that because of the monarch butterflies.
Well, it could be that putting the road in destroyed so much of the natural habitat for the monarch butterfly that they're putting it back by giving them the stations.
And it's agricultural country. So farm country, farmers know.
So at least we're finally thinking that way.
Yeah, and the rest areas do a good job on pollinator gardens, way stations.
Right.
Missouri does it really well. It's in Kansas and Iowa so far. I know there's others out there, just off the top of our heads, because I think we've been to almost every rest area in America. We're not all the way done, but I'd say we've done at least 2/3.
We should keep the log.
We should. We'll start doing it. But anyway, so the rest area was talking about this highway and all the plants, and it's pretty cool. This trail, Minnesota Trail. So that was interesting because it shows you all the different plants. So when you're driving the highway, you see these plants on the side of the road. It's pretty cool. So we went into Albert Lee in the town, and there's the courthouse is insanely gorgeous. Again, the architecture is insane. They have a military memorial, veterans memorial, but they also have a memorial statue honoring the Union soldiers from the Civil War. So that was cool to see. And from there, we started following the highway. And I mean, this was really early in the morning as people were starting to wake up to go to work. And we went to Geneva Lake. And you're going through all these cute little towns, right? Little agricultural towns. And we see this thing, Geneva Lake, Harmony Lake. And then we ended up on a little dirt road as always. And we found where like boats get in and stuff to the lake, unless you're a property owner. And this was the Public Waterworks access. And lo and behold, there's this teeny dock, and be careful if you walk. Just be. It's one of those things, yep. And there were tons of pelicans, and that was incredible to see all the pelicans that we saw.
That was amazing to me. I haven't seen that many pelicans.
White pelicans,
together
American white pelicans.
Since Kenya.
I mean,
really,
there are at least 100.
I've seen
at least 100.
I just have never seen the grouping of that many pelicans since we were in Kenya.
And then we went from there all the way up more into. Okay, now I gotta get into the photos to make sure I pronounce things correctly, because I can't pronounce half of what we do on this trip. But we got Faribault right. That's where we are now. Oh, and speaking of Faribault, we stopped at their memorial library, which is this insanely cool old church. They're very strong about having a storybook trail for kids to follow, which I think is really, really cool.
That's really awesome.
But yeah, we went from Geneva on up. Let me get this straight. I'm getting there. We went to the Steele County Historical Society, and they have a story walk too, and it is pretty cool. It is like a walk through all these historic buildings that show you what it was like way back when, and they have gas pumps. That was our big thing, to get to the gas pumps, and that's what we did. And they've got the gas pumps as part of it. They have a history center. They have a whole historic village, and so it's really cool. They have a church. They have a general store, all of that, which is really, really awesome. So the village, this historic village, was in Owatonna, which and we've had them on the Jefferson Highway podcast, and I encourage everyone to go there. And we wanted to spend more time. Obviously, everywhere we want to go back and spend a few days.
Glanced through on our first reconnaissance
trips.
And then we plan a route so that we can go and spend more time.
Exactly. And like Mason City, we have to go back.
Yeah.
But Owatonna, I mean, this historic downtown is incredible. And we went to the Morehouse Park. It has a little mini waterfall there.
That was awesome.
And they have flower baskets. All these downtowns have flower baskets, so they're taking pride. They understand about beautifying America.
It's so welcoming to a visitor.
Yeah, and just to live in a place where they have pride in their home, So Owatonna, we did that, and there were some other parks we went through there, and then off we go. We started, traveling up, and that's how we got to Faribault. And Roger Bell, the Jefferson Highway association president, messaged us to let us know that this is where the first tilt the wheel was invented. Like if you've been in Disneyland on the teacups.
Yeah, that's it.
So the downtown has these teacups. Now we're outside the downtown, and I'm like, oh man, we got to go back. But we're on our way to this wilderness area, and we actually really need to get to Wisconsin now.
This is why we go in circles, and you can never see everything all at one time.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because every time you go back, you see something that you didn't get to see the time before, and you get to see what the community has added.
Right, and by the way, Owatonna, you have to go in the downtown, actual downtown district where the huge bank building is. It's a historic bank building. It's opulence. I went and photographed the Armory, which I thought was a courthouse, turned out to be the Armory next to it's Wells Fargo Bank now. But the stained glass windows, and then I went to where the insurance company is. It's like opulence. And I'm like, whoa. But they have a central park, like, New York has a central park. This is a tiny town compared, to New York City, but fountains and,
it's beautiful.
Picnic benches and play areas, but this is it's like the town square. I think this whole area, all these towns we've been to, they focus on quality of life. It just really seems like communities.
And
community is strong in that. And that leads me back to when we first entered into Minnesota. That's what I wanted to bring up, was when we got to, when we went to that rest area, and it was amazing what they were talking about with the prairies and everything, and getting back the prairie flowers. And I photographed this quote on the wall about the prairies. And the quote is by Charles Little. It's from Hope for the Land. Land is the origin of community, of the community of people, every bit as it is the community of nature. And that's something we've noticed on this Jefferson Highway adventure. We literally got in the car and said, oh, well, let's do this highway. And, and we've had a ball. We've been in nature a lot. Bring mosquito bug spray. Just going to give a tip out there. But I know you all know better than me, apparently. I forgot. Stop scratching, Nancy, as I said that.
We're just adding sound effects.
I know, really. But at the same time, it's history. Like, you can tell these communities have got together. They take pride in their places. Like, even here at this picnic bench, Nancy, tell everybody what you were reading.
There's a little plaque on here that says Eagle Scout Project, Boy Scout Troop number 306, Kluzak,
April 2013 lamp hearts. So apparently the Boy Scouts donated this table
And built
to
these
this
tables.
park.
They made these tables.
I don't know if donated, made them both. I don't know for sure. But it's a project that the Boy Scouts went out and tried to furnish places to sit and eat in this park.
Yeah, and this park,
That's
the
awesome.
Riverbend Nature Center, they do have an interpretive nature center, but they have so many trails. One goes to a waterfall. I mean, this is so cool. And it definitely the people and
Well, that's
the
a
nature are
community.
connected. Yeah.
Making things better for the community instead it being all about one person.
So we don't know if we're going to have another part of this podcast, but I'm sure we're going to end up pulling over somewhere because we keep doing it. But we do need to get our butts to Wisconsin. We've got some dogs to take care of, some cats to take care of. But thank you for listening to our little adventure, unscripted, just hanging out. So we're not trying to ramble, but we're having a good time, and we hope you join us on the Jefferson Highway. Go to jeffersonhighway.org. Join us in having that adventure. Mm-hmm. You know, just get in the car sometimes, have that spontaneity. You know, but I would say go stay in the historic hotels and maybe book your camping sites and everything beforehand. Maybe not be as quite crazy as we've done, and just getting on the road. But still, it is all a story,
And
right?
have picnics.
And take bug spray.
Right.
Just take because you don't realize them until too late.
But look how green it is.
It's so green, and the flowers out here.
Yeah.
I can tell you that this trip has
It's
taken away
beautiful.
probably the last year of stress. Just in, you are so calm watching birds, and then going to these towns where the traffic isn't killing you, and everybody's just happy. They're going to work. They're smiling. They're
Well,
talking.
they're charming. The towns
Town is
and
charm.
the people.
The people say hello to you. Oh my God, they do.
Yeah.
And all the little neighborhoods are cool too. I know. I want to go. Like, can I come over? I want to go see inside your house. I do. I want to go to people's houses.
that
I want to
might be
see.
pushing it. But
I know.
You never know.
But anyway, here's to the spirit of road trip. We may be back on the end of this. Who knows? With another adventure. If we do, we'll definitely do it. But we hope you stay tuned with us. We're going to be doing our new road trip radio show every fourth Monday. So this will be our second or third one, I believe. So keep up with us that. And every fourth Thursday is our Jefferson Highway Association podcast. So all of that is at bigblendradio.com. And for destinations on our Love Your Park store, you can go to nationalparktraveling.com.